Hey everyone, I'm Rich. There's a lot to love about the new $200 Samsung phone, alright? The Galaxy A24 is packing a lot of good features which I want to show you in detail in today's video, so stick around because I think you're going to like this one. Alright, the first thing I love about the A24 is that you're going to be getting a 90Hz Super AMOLED display, and we all know that Samsung's widely recognized for making some high quality screens. This is due to several key factors like their technological expertise and just leaps of innovation and investments into their products. Someone showed that it's like a win-win situation, not just for themselves too, but for other competitors, like supplying great displays to, I'm talking about you, Apple. But Samsung has their own flagship phones like the S23 lineup, and I just kind of love how those elements kind of trickle down to their A series. Like the 6.5-inch screen on A24 here can reach a whopping 1000 nits of brightness at its peak, and this worked well for me when I was outside on a sunny day. The colors shine very bright on this device. It looks very accurate from all angles. You also do have the option to change your color settings, which is very neat. Sadly, there's no HDR on this 1080p screen, and it's hard to come back to this phone if you're using something as sharp and as colorful as the S23's, but it's still a great screen nonetheless. I was quite confused how good the screen was alone for $200, just watching, simple YouTube videos, playing some games. I was very immersed in the screen. It was very sharp, it's very crisp, and you're all getting this at $200, which kind of leads me to my next point, which I love about the A24, is that its price. And this kind of fooled me at first. The plastic back and frame really had me thinking it was like glass at first. It looks like the S23 from a distance. I gave this phone to a friend and he was just kind of astonished and kind of asked me how much this costs. And I told him to take a guess. He was like, $500 or something. I think especially in this colorway, I forgot what it's called. It's like this silverish reflective coating. Looks kind of dope. Makes it look a little bit more premium than it actually is. The weight kind of gives it away though. Some of you guys on this channel know that I don't really like heavy phones. This one comes in at 195 grams. If you were to put this phone in the hands of a young kid, an elderly, or just anyone that doesn't need or want to drop a bunch of money on a phone, I can see this doing really well. At the end of the day, a phone is a phone, it's a tool. And for the people that can really understand what they want and need, they may find that the A24 being priced at around $200 could honestly be a steal. I mean, give it some time down the road, and I wouldn't personally be too hard on myself to upgrade to a newer phone because this one was just very inexpensive. I can just upgrade to a newest model down the line. If I drop it, break it, who knows? If I scratch it or dent it, I won't be, too mad because, it's a budget phone. It's a very, very budgeted phone. Now, the third thing I love about this phone, which, man, oh man, I like this so much, is they have the headphone jack, all right, and the MicroSD card slot. By far my favorite thing I love about this. It's been a while since I saw this on a phone. Some people like me don't always like to carry an extra dongle for wired headphones, and not everyone wants or needs to go wireless with their listening experience. So I love how they fitted it in the extra port. I have a lot of wired headphones at home. I would sometimes prefer using that to listen to music rather than using, a pair of my Galaxy Buds or AirPods. I mean, sometimes interference and just sound quality isn't as good as compared to having something wired. But then also the microSD card slot is also another great addition to have, as you can always expand your storage for whatever it may be, like music, photos, videos, games, who knows? But moving on to the fourth thing I love about the A24 is actually going to be its respectable performance, alright? So Samsung has their MediaTek Helio G99 processor in here, which is not going to be crushing any CPU benchmark charts at all. Scrolling throughout One UI 5 and the apps remain relatively responsive. Not as quick as the flagships though. I do love, however, that I remain relatively cool over an average of 20 to 35 minutes of gaming, and with that, the battery life here is very respectable. Packing 5000 milliamp cell, which is able to get me through, I would say, 4 days of usage. That was around 2 to 3 hours a day. If you take the average of that, that's around 10 hours. And yeah, this was a combination of gaming, scrolling through social media, the web, using the camera, whatnot. And charging this too is actually pretty fast. I was able to go from 0 to 100% in under like an hour and 35 minutes. I didn't feel like it was as snappy and as fast as like the flagship phones, but hey, that's not the point here. It's still able to do what it's able to do for its price. And the fifth thing I love about that Galaxy A24 is that it has a pretty good enough camera. If you're a budgeted user, you're going to be getting the most here. They have a 50 megapixel main shooter, which is really 12.5 megapixels due to pixel binning. The main camera is what I think you should stick with here, as it's going to be giving you a wide f1.8 aperture shot. These daylight shots look well enough. There's low noise and colors do look a little flat, I think. There's a lot of details coming out of these shots when you kind of punch in. The camera does, I say, a good enough job at capturing decent photos. Portrait mode here fares pretty well too, even though there's no depth sensor. It isolates the subject and background appropriately. I do want to take a look at these photos a little bit more, especially here, this owl statue shot in portrait mode. I think this turned out very well. You can see the level of detail, especially the texture of my cat's fur and the backpack. This shot of the building turned out very nice too. If we switch over to ultra wide, you can see what I mean here. You lose a lot of quality, especially if you look at the grass. The A24 is only capable of shooting up to 30 frames per second at 1080p. This is probably considered bare minimum by today's standards, but you're actually getting a somewhat decent recording here. There is not a lot of camera stabilization as compared to the flagship S series, and you can see some of the shakiness here. You can also tell that it also easily overexposes something like the sky and the building. Very textury things like the foliage, bricks, and all that start to look a little washed up. When you move on to low light shots, I do see some good post-processing, and again, a lot of over-sharpening here, especially around the buildings and foliage. These two photos were shot in Samsung's night mode, and I think this part really shines. I mean, just take a look at this. The camera and AI really captures a lot of details, and truly, I just think it takes some practice, some timing, and some good angles to get some good results on this $200 phone. When I was testing this out, I really had to get into it and try a few times to kind of carefully plan my shots, because one angle might completely overexpose an area, or some places might not look as great. The camera does kind of make me a little nostalgic, I won't lie. It kind of looks like a blend of today's camera evolution, and the other half kind of looks like picture and video quality from 2013. Here's a surprisingly good front-facing 13 megapixel shooter. Yeah, don't mind the over-sharpening and don't mind the hair. It was kind of humid outside, so it made the curls a little bit wild. But look at this. I didn't see any distortion on my face. The camera actually captures me pretty well, so I think we're good. The MediaTek CPU manages to process the camera app at tolerable speed. Switching between the modes like photo to video to portrait mode, or changing the settings was not all too bad here either. I really think it is up to Samsung's post-processing to decide when they're going to over-sharpen and not sharpen the photos. It's a little bit weird on here. As for the telephoto and ultra-wide cameras, it isn't the best. The feature is there. You do lose a lot of quality when you're shooting in those modes. But like I said, just stick with the main camera. You're actually going to be getting some good results. Now, the last honorable mention, which I think is just unique to Samsung phones in general, but definitely applies to A24 here, is that One UI 5 in Android 13. Samsung did announce that you'll be getting a few more years of updates. So I wouldn't worry about being left behind in the dust or anything like that using this phone. But just, hey, One UI in general just looks beautiful. The weather app here looks great. The aesthetic and large customizations of the themes, skins, and sounds is brilliant. Just basically from a software standpoint, you're not going to be missing out much as compared to something like their A24s or their S series. The operating system is here to stay, and the software updates and all that are here to follow. Overall, I'm enjoying the A24. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. These cheap sub $200 phones are just getting really good here. I want to know if they can make something a little cheaper than this. But hey, tell me if you are going to pick up this phone. Tell me if you already have it. If you have something else like the previous versions, do you have any other phones that you want me to review? Let me know down in the comments below, alright? Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next video, guys, I will see you then.